Seat back, relax, and enjoy listening. Afternoon. RK sat alone, his thoughts in chaos, as two voices fought in his head. The first voice was loud, forceful. You cannot marry her. It was firm, decisive, and held no room for doubt. You don't owe her anything beyond gratitude. Marriage isn't the way to repay her. Remember what the others told you. This is not right. RK clenched his fists, his mind spinning. His band members had been crystal clear. This was a mistake. He heard their words again in his head. You don't marry someone just because they saved your life, RK. Think about what you really want. The first voice echoed that sentiment, pushing harder, growing louder. You know they're right. This decision shouldn't be about guilt or a promise to her mother. But then the second voice, softer and almost pleading, crept into his thoughts. But she saved your life, RK, it whispered, trying to weaken his resolve. How can you walk away from someone who risked everything for you? You made a promise to her mother. Don't you owe them both something? The first voice cut in sharply angry now. This isn't about a promise. You can't bind your life to hers out of obligation. Marriage is not the answer. You'll regret it. RK felt the tension mount inside him, knowing deep down that the first voice held more truth. But the weight of his promise still pulled at him. She risked her life for you, the second voice persisted, its tone soft but full of guilt. How can you repay her any other way? What will people think if you walk away now? RK pressed his palms against his head, trying to block out the noise. The first voice shouted back louder, refusing to let the guilt sway him. You're not doing this. You don't owe her your life. Your band members told you not to go down this path. They're right. It was stronger now, drowning out the softer reasoning. You won't marry her. You don't have to see her again. Walk away. Finally, RK stood, his mind clear. I'm not marrying her, he said firmly, voice filled with determination. I'll walk away and never see her again. He had made his choice. As difficult as it was, he knew this decision was final. But despite his resolve, the faces of his band members flashed before him again. Their words echoed, reassuring him he was making the right choice. Don't get trapped in guilt, RK. You don't owe her that. Even as he replayed their advice, his heart still ached from the weight of his decision. Just as he began to find some clarity, his phone rang. RK glanced at it, distracted but not fully aware of who was calling. He answered. For a moment, there was silence as the caller spoke. RK's expression shifted immediately, his eyes widening in shock. His face drained of color, and the words from the other end of the line hit him hard. He didn't say a word, just listened, breathless, the disbelief evident in his eyes. Without hesitation, he grabbed his car keys and rushed out the door. At the hospital, inside SV's room, the atmosphere had grown tense. The doctors surrounded her, their faces etched with concern as they worked swiftly to stabilize her condition. SV's breathing had become shallow, erratic, as if her body was shutting down. Monitors beeped urgently, and the doctor's hands moved swiftly over the machines. What's happening? This isn't right, the head doctor muttered under his breath. Just 30 minutes ago, SV had been stable, her vitals normal. Now, her health had deteriorated so rapidly, it was as if some unseen force was pulling her into the depths of danger. She was fine. What happened in the last half hour? He muttered again, clearly worried. No matter what treatment they administered, nothing seemed to work. Her oxygen levels plummeted, and the medical staff scrambled to stabilize her. We're losing her, the nurse whispered to the doctor, who grimly nodded, their efforts growing more desperate. Outside the room, SV's mother stood, her hands trembling as she clutched the glass window, watching in horror. She couldn't hold back the tears. Her sobs echoed down the sterile hospital hallway. She couldn't bear to watch her daughter fight for her life. The sight was unbearable. Her body trembled, unable to contain the overwhelming grief and fear that consumed her. SV's manager stood beside her, helpless. "Ma'am, please try to calm down. The doctors are doing everything they can. She's strong. She'll pull through," he said, trying to comfort her, though his own voice shook with uncertainty. But SV's mother couldn't hear him. Her cries were uncontrollable, her gaze fixed on her daughter through the glass. Suddenly, a familiar voice called from behind, "Auntie!" It was RK. He rushed towards SV's mother, his heart pounding in his chest as he took in the scene. He had never seen her like this, so utterly broken. His own emotions threatened to overwhelm him as he approached. He took a moment to steady himself before gently placing his hand on SV's mother's. "Auntie, I'm here. Please don't worry. I'll handle everything." His voice was soft, filled with the weight of his own worry. His eyes welled up, unable to control the emotions surging through him. When a tear fell onto her hand, SV's mother seemed to snap out of her daze, finally registering his presence. RK continued, unaware that she was now looking at him. "Don't you trust your son?" His voice was heavy with emotion. SV's mother, through her tears, placed a trembling hand on RK's head, gently stroking his hair. RK looked up, meeting her tear-filled eyes. She was still crying, but now at least she was aware of him. Just then, the doctor burst out of the room, moving quickly toward them. SV's mother rushed to him, her voice weak but filled with desperate questions. "Doctor, how's my daughter? Is she all right? What's happening to her? Please, please tell me she's okay." Her voice broke as the words tumbled out in panic. Even though she barely had the strength to speak, she couldn't stop. "What are they doing with her? Why are they taking her away?" The doctor, visibly stressed, answered hurriedly, "We're moving her to the ICU. Her condition has become critical. I can't say anything for sure right now. She's not breathing properly and," he paused, his face grim, "her chances of survival are very low." Those last words hung in the air like a bomb. RK, SV's manager, and her mother stood frozen, unable to process what they had just heard. The world seemed to stop as they watched the staff while SV's bed down the hallway towards the ICU. RK suddenly shouted, "Auntie!" But before he could reach her, SV's mother collapsed, her body crumpling under the weight of shock and grief. RK rushed to catch her, his mind spinning as everything around him spiraled into chaos.